ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀਓ। ਸੋਰਠ ਮਹੱਲਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ। ਜਿਨੀ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਸੇਵਿਆ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਤਿਨ ਕੇ ਸਾਥ ਤਰੇ। ਤਿਨਾ ਠਾਕ ਨਾ ਪਾਈਐ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਰਸਨ ਹਰੇ। ਜਿਨੀ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਸੇਵਿਆ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਤਿਨ ਕੇ ਸਾਥ ਤਰੇ। ਤਿਨਾ ਠਾਕ ਨਾ ਪਾਈਐ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਰਸਨ ਹਰੇ। ਬੂਢੇ ਭਾਰੇ ਭੈ ਬਿਨਾ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਤਾਰੇ ਨਦਰ ਕਰੇ। ਭੀ ਤੂੰ ਹੈ ਸਾਲਾਹਣਾ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਭੀ ਤੇਰੀ ਸਾਲਾਹ। ਵਿਣ ਬੋਹਿਤ ਭੈ ਡੁੱਬੀਏ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਕੰਦੀ ਪਾਏ ਕਹਾ। ਰਹਾਉ ਸਾਲਾਹੀ ਸਾਲਾਹਣਾ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਦੂਜਾ ਅਵਰ ਨਾ ਕੋਇ। ਮੇਰੇ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਸਾਲਾਹਣ ਸੇ ਭਲੇ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਸ਼ਬਦ ਰਤੇ ਰੰਗ ਹੋਏ। ਤਿਸ ਕੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੇ ਮਿਲੈ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਰਸ ਲੈ ਤਤ ਵਿਲੋਏ। ਪਤ ਪਰਵਾਨਾ ਸਾਚ ਕਾ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਨਾਮ ਸੱਚਾ ਨੀਸਾਨ। ਆਇਆ ਲਿਖ ਲੈ ਜਾਵਣਾ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਹੁਕਮੀ ਹੁਕਮ ਪਛਾਣ। ਗੁਰ ਬਿਨ ਹੁਕਮ ਨਾ ਬੂਝੀਐ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਸਾਚੇ ਸਾਚਾ ਤਾਣ। ਹੁਕਮੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਨਿਮਿਆ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਹੁਕਮੈ ਉਦਰ ਮਝਾਰ। ਹੁਕਮੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਜੰਮਿਆ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਉਦੋ ਸਿਰ ਕੈ ਭਾਰ। ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਦਰਗਹਿ ਜਾਣੀਐ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਚੱਲੈ ਕਾਰਜ ਸਾਰ। ਹੁਕਮੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਆਇਆ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਹੁਕਮੇ ਜਾਂਦੋ ਜਾਏ। ਹੁਕਮੇ ਬਨ ਚਲਾਈਏ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਮਨ ਮੁਖ ਲਹਿ ਸਜਾਏ। ਹੁਕਮੇ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਪਛਾਣੀਏ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਦਰਗਹਿ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਜਾਏ। ਹੁਕਮੇ ਗਣਤ ਗਣਾਈਏ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਹੁਕਮੇ ਹਉਮੈ ਦੋਏ। ਹੁਕਮੈ ਭਵੇ ਭਵਾਈਏ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਅਵਗਣ ਮੁਠੀ ਰੋਏ। ਹੁਕਮ ਸਿਆਪੈ ਸ਼ਾਹ ਕਾ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਸੱਚ ਮਿਲੇ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਹੋਏ। ਆਖਣ ਔਖਾ ਆਖੀਐ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਕਿਉ ਸੁਣੀਐ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਉ। ਜਿਨੀ ਸੋ ਸਾਲਾਹਿਆ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਹਉ ਤਿਨ ਬਲਹਾਰੈ ਜਾਉ। ਨਾਉ ਮਿਲੈ ਸੰਤੋਖੀਆਂ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਨਦਰੀ ਮੇਲ ਮਿਲਾਉ। ਕਾਇਆ ਕਾਗਦ ਛੇਥੀਏ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਮਨ ਮਸਵਾਣੀ ਧਾਰ। ਲਲਤਾ ਲੇਖਣ ਸੱਚ ਕੀ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਹਰ ਗੁਣ ਲਿਖੋ ਵਿਚਾਰ। ਤਨ ਲੇਖਾਰੀ ਨਾਨਕਾ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਸਾਚ ਲਿਖੈ ਉਰ ਧਾਰ। ਲਲਤਾ ਲੇਖਣ ਸੱਚ ਕੀ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਹਰ ਗੁਣ ਲਿਖੋ ਵਿਚਾਰ। ਧਨ ਲੇਖਾਰੀ ਨਾਨਕਾ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਸਾਚ ਲਿਖੈ ਉਰ ਧਾਰ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। Sangat Ji, today's Pavan Pitra Hukamnama Sahib from Sri Sachkhand Harmandir Sahib is on Ang 636. Blessed to us by Dhani Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Sache Paatshah Ji, Pehle Paatshah Guru Nanak Dev Ji in Sorat Raag. Satguru Ji Paatshah Ji, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah Ji saying to us that Jini Satguru Sevya Pyare, saying those that have actually served the Guru. Jini, Jena ne, those that have served the Guru, Jini Satguru Sevya Pyare, पातशाह जी कहणगे कहंदे तिनके साथ तरे. Veer ji just mute the phone. जिन्हें सतगुर सेव्या प्यारे तिनके साथ तरे. So संगत जी just द्वारा ध्यान जोड़ के पातशाह जी saying to us, Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying to us that those that have served the Guru, that beloved Vaheguru Ji, through their kirpa, and then Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying to us, Kende tinke saath tere, and there is so many others that are saved with them. And how is it that so many others are saved with them? When we read the slok that starts off with Pavan Guru Pani Pita, within that slok, Paatha Ji say to us that Jini Naam Tyaya. They say that those that actually meditated on the name of God, Kende Jini Naam Tyaya Ge Masakkat. So if we look at this word, we add an adak to it, and it comes from the word mashakkat. So it's saying those that made an immense amount of effort. Kende Ge Masakkat Kalana. Again, Kalana means when somebody has worked very hard. So it's talking about those that came into this world, they served their Guru, because the only way to meditate on the name of God is through a Guru. We cannot do it without a Guru. The Guru is the one that gives us that naam. And then, Ge Masakkat Kaal, kende apne jado Punjabi vich aapa kahida, o kende o badi ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਘਾਲਣਾ ਘਾਲੀ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ ਸਨ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕਰਕੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਘਾਲਣਾ ਘਾਲੀਆਂ. And what that means is that we often use this phrase in Punjabi to say that the elders, when they came into this country, they worked very hard. They put themselves through so much difficult work. ਤਾਂ ਐਵੇਂ ਹੀ ਕੋਈ ਸੌਖੀ ਖੇਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੀ ਉਸ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਜਪਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ. It's not no easy task to follow the Guru's word and do as the Guru says and meditate on God's name. It's easier said than done. That's why Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paat Ji said to us that Akhan Aukha Sacha Nao. Paat Ji saying to us, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the most difficult thing anyone can do in their life is Akhan, is to say Aukha. This the most difficult task. Aukha means difficult. Sacha Nao is to connect to the name of God and meditate on the name of God from inside by following the Guru. So ਕਈ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਵੇਲਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਆ. A lot of people, they actually say things like that ਇਹ ਵੇਲਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ. What that means is that this is for people that have got nothing better to do with their life. Little do they know that if they were given that opportunity, if they were given that time, there's even a Sakhi that comes like this, that Sangaji I'm not going to go into now, but like if you just think about this, if you're given that time and somebody said to you, you know what, I'll take away all the responsibilities you have in life, and you know what, all you have to do is for 2 days, you just sit down in a room on your own, you just connect to that one, and then that's all you have to do. That's your job. Go on. Sangaji, you know the state of us now, especially in today's age, ਆਪਣੀ ਇਹੋ ਜੀ ਹਾਲਤ ਹੋਈ ਆ, ਆਪਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਅੱਧਾ ਪੌਣਾ ਘੰਟਾ ਹੀ ਮਸਾ ਹੀ ਕੱਢ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ without needing something. Nowadays it's getting to such a state we can only get through only so much time, half an hour before we need something to actually keep us stimulated, whether that be our phones or whether that be something else. But imagine having no phone, having nothing by you, you're left alone in a room and you just left there for 2 days, and you're just there and you're left with who? You're left with your own self. A lot of the times we blame other people for the way we are feeling, for our emotions, and we'll say it's because of my wife challenged me, it's she makes me feel that I'm on edge, you know, and we've got 101 excuses. But then what excuse have we got then when we're struggling, when we sat on our own without any television, without any social media, without anything, without YouTube, and even then we're struggling with who are we struggling with? Then we're struggling with our own mind. it's no easy thing. So that's why Paatshah ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਨੀ ਨਾਮ ਤੇ ਆਏ ਗੇ ਮਸਕਤ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ they worked hard, ਕਾਲ, that at this difficult job of meditating on God's name, ਗੇ ਮਸਕਤ ਕਾਲ. Then Paatshah ji saying to us, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਾਨਕ, ਇੱਥੇ ਛੋਟਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਵਿਸਰਾਮ ਲਾ ਕੇ, on Nanak, often if it hasn't gotten anchored underneath the Nanak, it means that here Nanak, Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying, so ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਾਨਕ ਤੇ ਮੁਖ ਉਜਲੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ then their faces become radiant, and their faces become radiant physically as well, and their faces become radiant meaning in the eyes of Vaheguru Ji. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਗੇ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨਾ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਾਨਕ ਤੇ ਮੁਖ ਉਜਲੇ keti chutti naal, that they chutti, we know this word when somebody says, oh schoolo chutti nahi hui halle kam to chutti hogi ya ke nahi hui. Chutti means when you actually come to the end of something, and this chutti means here to the end of what? When you come to the end of the 5 vices, the kaam, krodh, lobh, moh, hankar, that calm, your desires, krodh, your anger, lobh, your greed, more, your attachment, pride, and these senses that aren't in control anymore. Una di chutti ho gaya, means that now that's come to an end for me. So because that's come to an end for me, now I've got full control over my mind, I've got full control over my senses, and now I am chutti. That's it. I've escaped. I've escaped from that work. I've escaped now, and now I am liberated. So chutti here means liberated. Kende keti chutti naal, or naal, they have escaped. Kende but naal, they take many with them as well. And here, you know, pa bindi la ke uchariye keti, meaning many. They have then the ability to save many. And when we look at this, Sangat Ji, that Paatshah Ji saying to kende jini Satgur Sevya Pyare Tinke Saath Tare. This is many are saved with those that have served the Guru. And if we look at this, if we look at a Mahapurkh, if we look at a Guru da Pyara that has served the Guru with every breath, they have meditated on the name of God, and they have done seva of other Gursikhs as well. And then why is it, how are we saved with them? We are saved with them, their energy becomes so immense. Why is it that we still seek to be amongst that physical, that somebody that has an actual physical body? Why is it that we still yearn to be amongst them? It's because of the energy that they hold. Because they have meditated so much, their energy has now become so radiant and so powerful that even when we're in their presence, just by being in their presence, that so much has started happening for us already. Without us even doing anything yet, so much has started to happen to us. Just with their vibration of their energy, our mind has already started to alter. Our mind, the thoughts, the racing thoughts in our mind start to soothe. They start to simmer. Something that we've been trying to do for so long. We've sat in postures, we've sat throughout the night trying, but with the moment we're in that vibration of this person that has done this, already things are happening for us. So I'd like to say, just, we mentioned the whole thing of yesterday, we covered it in so much detail for different reasons of why people aren't able to connect and why it can take longer for some and it might not take so long for some. And again, I thank all the Sangat. I really appreciate the feedback, and some people actually give feedback alongside in the comments. There was somebody saying that it feels like that we're talking to them and it's their situation, but I actually received a message in my inbox in Messenger or Facebook by a Guru da Pyara, by a Gursikh, and I was so touched by his message that the Guru is so amazing that even though I was thinking, I've longed this out. This is 50 minutes and I've gone through too many examples. But he said Virji, he said within less than an hour, it felt like every scenario of what I've gone through or going through whilst trying to do Simran was answered in yesterday's Katha. So I thank the Guru and I thank the Sangat for letting us know this and to continue. Then it gives us so much more Shakti, so much more power, because the Sangat is the Guru's Roop, and the Guru gives us blessings and the Sangat gives us that Hallasheri, that push to continue going, gives us energy. So Sangat ji, Paat ji here. So though some of you may have experienced this in your life, when you're around certain people, your energy feels sucked out of you. But then when you're around certain people, you feel pumped. It feels like somebody's pumped some energy into you. And the moment you come into certain people's presence, you don't even realize your Naam Simran starts going inside of you. And you think after a few seconds, you're like, oh, what's going on here? And you can hear that inside is going Vaheguru, 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 because their energy is effortlessly starting to be transferred into us. So that's why Paat ji saying here to us in this Hukamnama, Jini Sadgur Sevya Pyare Tinke Saath Tare, that we get saved with them. And then Sangat ji, and sometimes their energy is so powerful and is left behind that if you look at Sant Janal Singh ji, their energy was so immense that people still that listening to their speeches today after Sant ji leaving, that still people take Amrit, because they had done so much Naam Kamai of Naam. They would sit throughout the night in just cross-legged and meditating. They had so much Bani memorized that Bani was just flowing outside of them, that energy. These Gursikhs even leave their energy behind when their physical body leaves this world. Sometimes you could just think about them and you start to do Naam Simran because their energy is so powerful. And this Paat ji saying that we're so lucky that if we're able to even sometimes read about such a soul, because we start then thinking about them and their energy, then we're able to experience their energy. Being amongst them is just another world when we're in their presence. Paach kende tina thak na paiye pyare amrit rasan hare. Then Paach is saying, if we look at the next pankti now, kende tina thak na paiye pyare. Thak means when something blocks our path. Then how do you get saved when you're with them? They give you different ways. They give you different jugtiyan, because they've been through so much themselves. And that's why it's so important to have Sangat of Gurmukhs. That's why it's so important to have Sangat of these Gurmukh Pyare, that those that have been through all the difficulties themselves, they know what's going to come in the way of when you're trying to meditate on Vaheguru Ji. Then from them tina thakana pai, then I don't have to now stumble with those same obstacles, because they'll tell us this is going to come your way. As it starts coming, you just got to do this and you'll be able to get around it. Importance of Sangat of Gurmukh Pyare. Tina thakana paiye pyare amrit rasan hare. And then we start to then enjoy that nectar filled name of God with our tongue. Then we sometimes seek to drink something sweet, but Sangat ji, this is the absolute truth, that there's when you're meditating on God's name, I don't know how to bring the words to it, but just know these aren't just mere words of 500 years ago. This is the truth. Those then that start to enjoy the name of God, it's this sweet amrit upon your tongue that it just feels so amazing. And as that naam goes deeper and deeper inside of you, you can feel this sweet feeling inside of you. You can feel that nectar amrit churning inside of you. And it's sometimes so difficult to even come out of that and be amongst this world then. So it's very important to keep that balance of Naam Simran and Seva and Bani, to keep it balanced, otherwise we won't ever want to come open our eyes again. Paach कहने कहंदे बूढ़े भारे भै बिना प्यारे. Paach ji saying, but those, now talking about the opposite, saying those that don't actually have any loving fear for God inside of them, कहंदे what happens to them is कहंदे बूढ़े, कहंदे they drown. Pare mean they become like this heavy stone and they drown in their own sins. So कहंदे why? Because they didn't have any pa. Sangaji means when you don't actually have faith in the presence of Vaheguru Ji's existence. Without that, that's what makes us drown. When we think that I can just do whatever I want, when we're not conscious to the play of Vaheguru Ji, how things are folding out and how there's a consequences to everything I'm doing, not having that experience and not being awake enough, not the word experience isn't right, but not being awake enough from inside of having that realization of Vaheguru Ji's play, then what happens is we start to completely drown, because we've got to know that loving fear isn't there. Paach ji कहने लगे कहंदे तारे नदर करे, and the example that I used before in the Hukamnama Kathas was that just like a child becomes so much more alert and aware when they're taking part in a school play or whatever type of play, and when they know that their parent has come to watch them, or their parents have come to watch them, or their siblings or their grandparents. I've experienced this myself. So that child's face lights up. So I wanted to explain this again, because the connotation that is around the word fear is very negative. Especially somebody again gave their feedback. They said coming from the background of a particular faith, and they said this word fear is so negative in the way it makes us think that, if you don't do it like this, if you don't have this, then you will rot in hell. And that fear is intentionally tried to be instilled in you, and so the word fear becomes very negative for a lot of people. Sangaji, this word fear in Gurbani, having fear for God, is beautiful. It's like that. Ask that child. I've experienced this myself. The moment you walk into that hall, to wherever the child's play is, and first they're into their play, but as soon as their eye catches that my parents have come, my nanni's here as well, my daddy's here as well, my grandparents, my parents, everyone's here, and then you gotta see their face light up, and they're like, oh yes. And then they want to get that play right. They want to get those words right, and they're not doing it because you know what, mom's gonna be so angry at me if I get it wrong. No, that's the negative fear. This is that beautiful fear. I'm being watched and I want to do this right and I want to please them. This is beautiful, Sangat Ji. And so in that same way, we become that child. Tum mat pita hum barik tere, tumri kirpa meh sukh kanere. Sangat Ji, then we start to experience this kanere. Kanere means this immense sukh inside of living in that fear, because I can feel tum mat pita. You're like my mother, Vaheguru Ji. You're not somebody terrifying. You're not somebody with these horns and a red face. We sometimes make God out to be like a devil. Even there's no such thing, Sangat Ji, as a devil. It's all this play of Kali Yug, and that's another topic. I'm not going to go into that. But Sangat Ji, we end up making God like that. Then who would want to meditate on such a God? That fear eventually will dry out and completely destroy us. No, this is beautiful, Sangat Ji. This is saying, Tummat, you're my. Now I can feel, Mom, that you've turned up to my play. I can feel now that I'm in your laps. Tummat Pita, oh Father, that just the way that you take me into your embrace, and you tell me different things of how to do things in life. Just like, Father, lovingly, you teach me how to ride a bike. Father, you take me into your arms and you teach me all these skills. in that way, this is a beautiful, loving, devotional fear. Get that connotation that you've got built around this word with fear. Get it out, and get it out when it comes to Gurbani. In Gurbani, it's like this. It's beautiful. पात जी कहंदे बूढ़े भारे पै बिना प्यारे तारे नदर करे. Imagine living like that. Then we'll be saved with Vaheguru Ji's glance, because just like that parent is lighting up saying, oh, look at my child is trying their best, is doing everything. They're starting to realize that there's a consequence to everything, so they don't want to bring pain upon themselves anymore. Kende pi tu hai salahana pyare. Kende pi tu hai. It's you, Vaheguru Ji, that I want to praise, nobody else. Pi teri sala. It's your praise that I want to remain in constantly, forever. Vin bohit pa dubbiya pyare. Vin bohit pa. If I don't create that loving, devotional fear of feeling like that child, I'm gonna do my best now. That realizing that if I do such things, it's gonna bring certain consequences are gonna come my way, and I'm gonna bring pain to myself. I don't want to bring this pain upon me. So it's saying that I sit into that boat, and that boat now takes me across. Kende kandi pae kaha we. Kandi means the end. It gets me. Pae kaha. Pat ji saying here that now this is a question. Maaf karna Singh ji. Pat ji here. Where are we? Salahi salah pyare duja avar na koe. Vin bohit pa dubbiye pyare kandi pae kaha. So he's saying that what it's saying is, without that boat, how can I get across this world, this ocean that can become a very scary place? Because when we become attached to it, then it is a very scary place when we don't want to let go of it. And then Sangaji, this is how can I get, so what it's saying is, how can I get across without sitting in this boat of this beautiful, loving fear? And then Patji saying to us, Rahao, kende bisram lake, kende isno vicharo. Vicharo means don't go crazy thinking of it, is let it really sink inside about sitting in this beautiful, devotional, loving boat of fear. And then Patji saying to us, Salahi, Salahana pyare. Can I only praise that one, Duja avar na koe, because there is no one else for me. There is only but you, Vaheguru Ji. Mere prabh salahan se pale pyare. Kende mere prabh salahan. Patji saying, kende those that actually praise my Vaheguru Ji, my Prabhu, my Vaheguru Ji, kende se pale, kende those people are beautiful. Kende pyare shabad ratte rang hoye. Kende those that actually become imbued, ratte become imbued in the love of that Vaheguru Ji, of that one, through the Guru's word, through the Guru's wisdom that is showered upon us. Kende tisaki sangat je mila pyar. If we to get the sangat, if we're able to be in the company of those that are imbued in love, that love they have in their heart is infectious, that love will be, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਇੱਕ ਕਹਾਵਤ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਡੁੱਲ ਡੁੱਲ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਆ. You know what that means? ਕਿ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਪਿਆਰ ਡੁੱਲ ਡੁੱਲ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਆ. That ਕਹਿੰਦੇ that, you know, when something, you've got so much of something and it's spilling out, ਡੁੱਲ ਦਾ it's spilling out. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ that it's spilling out of them. And you, Sangaji, you've been in the company of those where you don't have to say anything. You can just sit there and stare at their faces, because you can just see this love oozing out of every pore of their body. Paat ji ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤਿਸਕੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੇ ਮਿਲੇ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਰਸ ਲੈ ਤਤ ਵਿਲੋਏ. I'm able to then receive some of that ras, So sometimes that's all it takes. We've been trying for years, it's not happening for us, and then we're in their company, and straight away that ras comes upon this tongue, that juice starts to flow, I start to experience that juice, and then I start to churn that naam upon my tongue. I've tried it so many times before, I've come into their presence now, and bang, there's just this explosion, the magic started to happen. I'm churning now, and I churn to the point where I actually get to the tat. I reach to the essence. This here tat is the tat. The tat's got an ankar underneath it, making it now a noun. It's singular, it's masculine, meaning this is Vaheguru Ji. This meaning, this essence is what we actually get Vaheguru Ji themselves. Pat parwana sach ka pyare. Then I get the parwana, the passport, that gateway pass. To where? To pat. Here this translated in many different ways. To my pat, to here pati, to my husband, Lord, to Vaheguru Ji. Now when I've got that ras, the name of God inside of me, now I've got the gateway that has become my pass to get to Pat, to my Pati, to my Vaheguru Ji. Pat parwana sach ka pyare. This is now the true gateway pass that I need. Sach ka pyare. Naam sacha nisan. And then the stamp that I need on that passport to get through into Vaheguru Ji's world, to experience and to merge with Vaheguru Ji. That naam, the name of God, that realization of God being everywhere is my true stamp. Nisan, and then that will be checked, and I can go through when I'm just imbued in God's name. Aya likh le javana pyare. Pacha Ji, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pacha Ji is reminding us. They are saying, they said, don't forget, it's really important that you sit in that boat of that loving fear. This says, because when you come into this world, whatever you do in this world, likh la javana, when you leave this world, you will take with you all the actions that you have done, the good and the bad, the positive and the negative. Just like Pachaji say to us in the sloka, changayaya burayaya vache taram hadur. Why am I keep going back to the slok? Because the salok is something that the Sangat reads all the time, and many of times when I've actually sat down and had conversations with Gursikhs, many people still don't know what the salok is actually saying to us. This one salok can change our whole life. Remember, all we need is Je Gurki Ek Sikh Suni. That all we need is one set of Guru's divine wisdom that can help us to escape. So changayaya burayaya vache taram hadur. Pach kende that karmi apo apni ke nede ke dur. Kende karmi apo apni. Kende it's down to our own actions that we have done. So the actions that we can't put the blame on anyone else. But it's saying, Aya, you're going to come here and then you're going to scribe your own destiny now. But what comes from your actions is not in your hand. That is what we call the karta. That is what we refer to as the doer. So the doing part of what comes from our actions, but we're going to scribe our actions, and then we're going to take them with us. In this life, we're walking alongside with them. Sabna likhya vudi kalam. There's this pen that is forever flowing of the pen of karma. The pen of karma is that the actions being done, it's been written likh la javana, and then that is what is carrying me and to my next moment in life, to my next moment. It's just, it'll blow your mind if we try and comprehend it with our thought. It can only be contemplated and it can be experienced how this whole game is playing out. It has to be an experience, Sangaji. You have to contemplate to start seeing it, the flow. पाच कहते आया लिख ले जावना प्यारे हुक्मी हुक्म पछाण कहते पाच कहते wake up कहते recognize hukmi here is the one that gives out the order. Hukmi is here is the name of God कहते and then hukam the one that has created the hukam, that all the laws, that everything is working in. Again, if you look at hukam, it's got an ankan underneath, meaning that it's Vaheguru Ji's hukam. It only belongs to Vaheguru Ji. We have no power over it. Can they pachan? Can they realize, wake up, realize this play, how it's playing out, how you're doing things, and then that is carrying you. Paach कहते गुरबे नु हुक्मना बूझिए प्यारे कहते but without the guru you cannot start to understand this play of Vaheguru Ji. कहते साचे सच्चा तान कहते this is all the power. Taan means power. This is all the power of that Vaheguru Ji, of that true Vaheguru Ji. Sache here is the name of Vaheguru Ji, the true Vaheguru Ji, meaning the truth that has always been and always will be, and the one that is permanent. Sacha Taan, that the power of Vaheguru Ji is meaning that the truth, meaning that we cannot play around with that law of Vaheguru Ji. We have no power over it. Paach कहते हुक्मे अंदर निम्या प्यारे कहते it was Vaheguru Ji's laws that actually allowed us to be what? Andar. It was hukme andar, is within Vaheguru Ji's law of nimya pyare, that we were conceived. If we look at the whole process of how we are conceived, it's mind-blowing. It's not an easy game. The way that the whole game is actually happening, for that sperm to be able to actually swim across and receive and actually get to that egg, to be able to, and it gets to that one egg and fertilizes that egg. It's not no easy game. It's all Vaheguru Ji's play of all how this happens. Did I design it? No. Did my chacha design it? No. It's all Vaheguru Ji's play. Guru Sahib Ji saying, wake up, realize this. So कहते हुक्मे अंदर निम्या प्यारे. कहते this creative play of Vaheguru Ji, how somebody is conceived. Hukme udar majar means inside, udar means the womb. कहते hukme udar majar, you then actually being in that womb, it's all the play of Vaheguru Ji. कहते hukme andar jammya, the way somebody is actually born as well. कहते that is all within Vaheguru Ji's play. That's Vaheguru Ji's desire, Vaheguru Ji's hukam, not mine, not anyone else's. We have no power over how it happens. We can't change. It can only happen within Vaheguru Ji's laws. कहते uddo means putte, uddo means upside down. कहते uddo sir ka par, we actually, somebody is born with their head down and their legs up. And Pataji is saying, can they look at that play of Vaheguru Ji? Yes, there can be some complications that sometimes happen, but where a child isn't facing, where they aren't actually upside down. Sangaji, but even that not happening in that way is within Vaheguru Ji's hands. We can't say, oh, spin around, mate, ਸਾਡੇ ਹੱਥ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਿਗਾ, ਇਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਹੱਥ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਦਰਗੇ ਜਾਣੀਐ ਪਿਆਰੇ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ but those that actually follow the Guru's every word, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਦਰਗੇ ਜਾਣੀਐ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ then they start to have this realization of this Vaheguru Ji's play, and they live their life in this absolute awe, and they are wonderstruck all the time. Their whole being becomes Vaheguru, 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 because just seeing this phenomenal play of Vaheguru Ji. Kende Gurmukh darge janiye, and that one then is known, that Gurmukh is then known in the dargah, in the court of Vaheguru Ji. And that court isn't a particular place. That court of Vaheguru Ji is everywhere. Paach ji, that's why they say, kende eh jag sache ki hai kothadi sache ka vichwas. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ this whole jug, this whole creation is Vaheguru Ji's home, is Vaheguru Ji's house. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੱਚੇ ਕਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਸ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ that one exists within everything. Vaheguru Ji's court isn't one particular place to say that look there. It's Vaheguru Ji's everywhere. We have that realization of Vaheguru Ji to be everywhere through the Guru. Paach Ji then ਫੇਰ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੁਕਮੇ ਉਦਰ ਮਝਾਰ ਹੁਕਮੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਜੰਮਿਆ, there we go, found where I am. ਪਾਚ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਦਰਗੇ ਜਾਣੀਏ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਚੱਲੇ ਕਾਰਜ ਸਾਰ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ a Gurmukh only leaves this world when this life journey comes to an end. A Gurmukh leaves this world when challe karj, all their work, everything sar was we normally it's translated as that all their fears are resolved, and I can't connect to that, to be honest, when it said, meaning that everything that a Gurmukh has done has been within Vaheguru Ji's law, and they've actually lived in meditation of Vaheguru Ji, and they've got to experience the true essence of Vaheguru Ji. They've gone here with being completely, Sar can also mean when everything is sorted for them. So then Pachikane Hukme Andar Aya Pyare Hukme Andar Aya. When somebody comes into this world is within that Vaheguru Ji's play. Kade Hukme Jando Jai, the way when somebody leaves this world, that is within Vaheguru Ji's play as well. And looking at these in a lot deeper of how it all happens, how it's not in our hand, how it's the hukum of Vaheguru Ji, I've actually covered in the Sahaskriti Slok. Again, I'm terrible at this. I can't remember which exactly one. I actually went through that Akhan Jor, Mange Neh Jor. So all of that, I've gone through it in one of the Sahaskriti Kathas. So you can, when you watch that series, you'll be able to understand what it means, even birth and death, how it's in Vaheguru Ji's place. Somebody might be able to think that they can commit suicide and death is in their hand. All of these questions are covered in that, how even that can only be done under Vaheguru Ji's hukum. Hukme ban chalaiye pyare, kende then within Vaheguru Ji's play, this says there's those that are actually tied up, ban meaning they are gagged, and kende chalaiye pyare, and then they are dragged out of their body because now they are trying to resist because of all of their attachments to this world. They said, but even that, they have no power over death. So even if you don't want to leave and you're so attached, then you will actually feel that you're being tied up in a bag and dragged out. So Paatji is saying here, kende ke pyare kende manmukh leh sajaye. So there we go. Viji just helped me out, and it said it's part 11 of Sahaskriti Slok, and it's called Taking Care of Us. So Neh Samrathang. So in that, so the link will be in the description of this katha. That will give you, because even the way I'm translating it now still might leave some questions in your mind unanswered. What's that katha? And it will all get cleared for you. Pacha kende hukme shabad pachaniye pyare darge panda jaye. Kende hukme shabad, kende you'll start to actually recognize and realize this play of Vaheguru Ji through the Guru's word, through the Guru's Bani. Kende then darge panda jaye. Kende when you then reach, when you're in Vaheguru Ji's court, and then they said you are honored, you'll be given that robe of honor. And that doesn't just mean after death, that is over here as well. When you start to experience Vaheguru Ji here, and then you will feel that you are being honored by Vaheguru Ji. These are all experiences beyond the mind, and they cannot be comprehended. So it's not a place in that sense you go to. It's an experience. It's anubhav that is beyond even the mind when you're in Vaheguru Ji's court. And then Paachis kende hukme ganat ganaiye pyare hukme home doe. Kende that even within that Vaheguru Ji's play, kende then what we do is ganat ganaiye. We try to understand this whole system of this, the account of how it works. And for Gurmukhs, they start to actually understand that whatever I'm doing how it actually folds out. You start to see a clear picture of everything. And then there's those that aren't able to work it out. They ain't got a clue what's going on with their whole account system of the actions that they're doing and how it's playing out. Even those that don't get it, those that do get it, is within Vaheguru Ji's hukam. Pyare hukme home doe. The game of home, of ego, and doe, of duality, they said all of that is being set by Vaheguru Ji's laws. So Pachaji can with in Vaheguru Ji's hukam. So you have stages, don't you? So you have it where, for example, if however is decided a law of a country and the process that it would go through, so a discussion would take place first, but Vaheguru Ji is Sapang. So what Sapang means is, Sapang means Vaheguru Ji is completely independent, self-contained, and has nobody above them. Nobody gives them support and nobody gives them advice. Everything comes from within Vaheguru Ji. So Sapang is a very deep concept if when we really go into it. Sapang is that Vaheguru Ji's knowledge is self-derived, meaning it doesn't come from anywhere outside. There is no duality, there is no advice, there is no minister like a prime minister has. So Sangaji, and that's what it means over here. So there's this process to understand this word, even hukam. Hukam is, so Vaheguru Ji skips that part of what we know within this world, where that discussion takes place with many different people to try and come up with something. Everything comes within Vaheguru Ji, then that law is all written. So then that law is written and then it is actually handed out. And then people have to abide by it. So Sangaji, in that same way, that the law of what home is has been written by Vaheguru Ji, and we have to, and then we haven't got no power over, we have to abide by the laws of whatever Vaheguru Ji has actually then put out into the creation. Home doe, be duality, the game of duality, be the game of home puts us into duality, the I am puts us into that duality, which has again been created by the creator. Hukme pave pava ye pyare. It is within Vaheguru Ji's hukam, within Vaheguru Ji's law, command, that one pave that goes into pava ye, into that cycle of birth and death, into reincarnation cycle of not being a juni but being into the juniya. And Pachaji kende avgan muthi roye, kende Pachaji avgan muthi roye, and they are then deceived and they cry from, they are deceived. Muthi means deceived by avgan, their own sins deceive them. Because what that means is, then we cry when we're going round and round in circles in pain in this life. We're going round and round in our head and we go into that circle of birth and death. What it means that they deceive us, our sins, because when we were doing them, we may have felt a lot of pleasure whilst we're doing them. But then what happens is that we end up crying, because we realize it's putting me into this horrible cycle of birth and death, and this horrible cycle of anxiety and fear, and I'm going round and round in my own head. So then we end up crying, and in that way our sins deceive us, but we have no control over the reaction that comes from those sins that we have done, because that is hukme. That is Vaheguru Ji's play of what comes from that. Pave pava ye, that makes me then go round and round, that I have no control over now. Then Pachi kende hukam sanyape shah ka pyare. Kende sanyape means to recognize. Kende the hukam of Vaheguru Ji, so the laws that they have set. Kende sanyape shah ka, shah means here Vaheguru Ji the king. Kende those that have actually recognized the hukam of the king Vaheguru Ji, kende sach mile vadiyai hoye. Kende they then actually unite with that truth with Vaheguru Ji, ਵਡਿਆਈ ਹੋਏ, then they receive that true greatness, which our whole purpose of this life is to have union with Vaheguru Ji. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆਖਣ ਔਖਾ ਆਖੀਏ ਪਿਆਰੇ. So we've already covered this, that the most difficult thing to do is to meditate on Vaheguru Ji's name. We've covered that before already. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿਉਂ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਉ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ how can we actually be in tune, ਸੁਣੀਏ and listen to this, to the name of God, of that one that is the Sacha, the true Vaheguru Ji. Jini so salahiye pyare. Kende those that have praised that one, that Vaheguru Ji, kende hon tin balahare jo. Pat Ji saying, I am a sacrifice to them, those that are in constant praise of Vaheguru Ji as well. And what it means to praise Vaheguru Ji, I've covered in other kathas as well. So I'm sure you would have come across it, those that of you that are watching these kathas on a regular basis. Kende now mile santokhiya pyare. Kende when we actually receive that name of God, that connection with God inside through our Guru, kende then what is that naam? They say that naam has got a characteristic. The characteristic of that naam, that connection to God inside it, is santokhiya. That is full of contentment. It will fill me with contentment, and it will help me to ease those burning desires. Kende nadar mel milao. Kende only with Vaheguru Ji's glance can I actually have union with that one. Kaya kagad. This is what we want to happen to us. We want our body to become like that piece of paper. Kaya is body, kagad is paper. Allow my body to become the paper. So what can I do with it? Kende, and my body, remember, is made up of these senses. Kende je thiye pyare. Kende if my body becomes that paper, kende manama savani tar. Kende then my mind becomes the ink. And then kende lalta means tongue. Kende lalta lekhan sach ki pyare. And then my tongue becomes that writes with the ink within my mind the sach ki pyare. Sach ki meaning that the name and the praise of God. Har gun likho vichar. Then I write with this tongue the constant contemplation and praise of Vaheguru Ji. Kende tan lekhari nan ka pyare. Kende blessed are those that write, meaning that actually meditate and recite and contemplate on Vaheguru Ji, on God. Kende sach likhe urtar. Kende sach likhe urtar. And those that actually inside of their heart, that enshrine, kende that Vaheguru Ji's name inside of their heart. So Sangat Ji, is a long hukamnama. So the points that for us to take away is for us to yearn to be amongst those Gurmukhs that have got the name of Vaheguru Ji flowing inside of them. That will help me and give me a kickstart in my journey. And then once I've got, then that will become my passport, that ras inside for Naam, to get to Vaheguru Ji's world. But the boat that I need is that loving fear of having that awareness that Vaheguru Ji is omnipresent, that whatever I do I cannot escape, and doing those such certain things that are negative actions, I will regret and cry when I'm going round and round in circles in that the reincarnation of birth and death, and within my mind over here, Sangat Ji. So let's do ardas that we come across those beloved drenched Gursikhs, whether it be through books during this time, whether it be through watching videos because of the period of going through, but the best way is to actually be in their physical presence of such pyare, of such meditators and the Guru's drenched Gursikhs, that is the best way for that to be transformed, that energy, and we feel that love from them because their love is overflowing. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh. Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru.